Welcome back. I am Dr. Samaria M. Covert. I am the founder of Kingdom Creative Counseling. That's a licensed mental health agency. I'm located downtown Greensboro. I am a licensed therapist with 16 plus years of experience. I'm a published author. I've written and actually published close to 60 books. My goal is 100 between 5-10 years. And I'm an entrepreneur. I do other things. I give you trainings. I have a training courses. I do a whole bunch of other stuff. All right. And most importantly, I give you faith-based principles to bring about lasting change. I am a woman who loves me some Jesus. Okay. Today you can see this big old smile on my face. Can you see it? You can't see if you listen to this via my podcast. I do have a podcast, by the way. It's called Couches and Conversations for Christian Mental Health Therapists. Hey, let's get it going. I love this topic today. You see the smile on my face. If you don't see it, it's okay. Just know it's there. We're gonna talk about introverts. Introverts. Now, put out a flyer, and the flyer says introverts, the tremendous success, blessings, and accomplishments that only introverts achieve. Why is it important, Samaria? You can quote me on this one because we don't talk about it, we are about it, and we deliver results. See, some of y'all, see, I just started already. Y'all be getting bamboozled about people who do all this talking and got no fruit. All this talking and got no fruit. Now, I'm not saying that extroverts are all talk. I'm just saying that introverts produce while talkers talk. Stay tuned. Let's get it popping. All right. So what we're going to talk about is like, what is an introvert? What does it mean to be an introvert? Now, let me just kind of take a step back. I was inspired to I just get inspiration from lots of different things. Of course, I'm a therapist. Now, therapists, introversion and therapy tend to go hand in hand. As far as my personality, because we spend a lot of time listening to people's problems. Okay, but what was I say? Oh, I'm inspired by different areas of my life. This one is may not necessarily be mental health related. It's more me. Now, fun fact about me, I'm your classic introvert. Okay, if you look at the dictionary, you'll find a picture of myself. Okay, maybe not, but in my mind, you will find a picture of myself next to introvert. I'm a classic introvert, okay? And I have learned in my 40 some years of living to own my truth. I learned not only to own my truth, but walk confident in the person that God has called me to be. However, like many introverts, I have been talked down to and about because I am too quiet. Why does my quietness offend you when I produce results? And matter of fact, I mean, it's a flex, but you can call it what you want. I probably produce more results than people who told me I was too quiet. But we're not gonna go there. We're gonna throw that shade. I'm just saying. Okay, so I wanted to inspire this because I was watching a YouTube video, believe it or not, and there was this young lady, and she was about 10 years younger than me, so she's probably maybe 28, 29, maybe 30. And she was talking about her experience as an introvert, and I was like, man, I can really relate to that. But I wanted to encourage people who find themselves an introvert, because a lot of times people make this really, really, really wrong assumption that if you are not a people person, okay, and I am a people person, that you cannot be successful. If you don't know how to, if you don't have all these people that you connect with, then you're not going to be successful. And again, that is absolutely false. It is not true. Introverts, now I'm gonna get ahead of myself. Introverts value meaning, and they value purpose, and they value meaningful people and meaningful conversations. So it's not the quantity of all knowing hundreds of millions of people, it is the quality of the people that you know. And so I want to encourage people who find themselves being an introvert that you can be super, super successful. Towards the end, maybe I do it in the middle, I don't know. I'm going to give you a list of people who are multi-millionaires, multi-billionaires, and all of them are classic introverts. So we're going to talk about this. What is an introvert? Benefits of being an introvert. By the way, when you are forming connections, you need an introvert on your team. I promise you that, because we win, and we win every time. Okay. One of my infamous sayings, it's not a flex, it's just the facts. Okay, is that this all I do is win, and that's on period. All I do is win. okay, as an introvert. And 9 times out of 10, what someone else wants, I already know how to do. I probably mastered it like 15 years ago because I produce results. And that is what introverts do. We don't talk. We don't wait for somebody to come hold our hand. We don't wait to go and connect with 15 different people. No, if we say we're going to do something and we determine in our minds, we go and we flex it and we do it. We do not need validation from other people to produce results and successes. Introverts produce. And that's why most of them are more successful than most people. So we're going to talk about misconceptions about introverts. We're going to demystify this lie that if you're an introvert, you cannot be successful. Or if you're a loner, or if you're quiet, you cannot be successful. I cannot stand when somebody makes dumb statements, because that's what it is, a real ignorant thing. Oh, you can't be so quiet. Why can't I be quiet? Why? Or, you got to connect with 15 different why. If God didn't want us to be quiet, why did he make us this way? Like, now there's a difference between being quiet. Let me clarify. There's a difference between being quiet and afraid and just quiet and you have a full of wisdom. Like, literally, my mama told me when I was out the womb, I did not cry as a baby. When I was a kid, I did not talk to anybody because I was just quiet nature person. So if God didn't want you to be quiet, then why are you? It's one thing to be broken, but don't assume just because someone's an introvert that they're broken. It's one thing when something has attached itself to your personality. I wrote a book many years ago called Repairing the Breach. You can find that at my website. It's one thing when you've gone through abuses and things, and that has made your personality. It's another thing when that's just naturally your quiet nature. But I'm going to tell you how introverts operate in a spirit of wisdom and knowledge. Okay. And how they again produce what we call results. See, talking a good game is fine, but don't you want results? That's what introverts do. We produce results. Okay, we produce results. And then we're gonna talk about why you need an introvert on your team. Per use, I always give you faith-based principles. So I'm gonna give you biblical justifications for introversion or for introverts. Biblical justification. Because it ain't the Bible and it contradicts your opinion, then you're wrong. Okay, all right, all right, all right. I was talking to God so a few years ago, and because when you're introvert, such as myself, you observe. And I remember seeing people being completely enamored by people who don't produce nothing. I mean, they just deceive. And I said to God, I said, God, because and when you're a brain of introvert, you don't you have a good sense of discernment, by the way, and you tend to observe people, right? You tend to like people watch. And I remember I was interacting with two individuals. The individual, one was a talker. This other person just needed help. Um, and I observed how people became enamored by this particular person who was talking. But see, I knew the person personally, and they produced nothing, zero, no results. I mean, no results. I mean, zero. To this day, has produced zero. Okay, not knocking it. I'm just telling you what it is. So I was just talking to God because that's what I do. This for introverts. We talk to God. And I said, God, that's kind of odd. Like, why are people so enamored about people who don't do anything? Why are people enamored by people who don't produce any type of results? I mean, they just enamored. I mean, and he said, Samaria, he said, because they're not a fruit inspector. They're not a fruit inspector. See, you don't have wisdom. Watch this. When you take people at face value and all they do is talk, and you got to spend time with them to realize they all talk. They have a consistent pattern of being inconsistent. But see, if you're an introvert, you have discernment and you probably already know that. See, it's not that introverts cannot connect with people. They certainly can. They connect with right people, with right motives, who can come alongside them and produce results. We don't really like people who talk no game and produce nothing. But if you're an introvert, you know that. Okay. I'm rocking for us today. So let's talk about what is an introvert. I'm going to give you lots of benefits of why you want to connect with an introvert if you're not an introvert, and why you need introverts on your team. Okay, so if you're not an introvert and you say, dang, she coming hard, I want you to just still listen to this, because you need to connect yourself with introverts, because like I said, it's only benefits. Introverts, uh, um, they are tremendous treasures. They are tremendous treasures. They're like living wells. They keep going and going and going. Okay. Okay. Are y'all ready for this? I know you're excited. I'm excited too. I am so excited. All right. So, what's an introvert? Introvert, believe it or not, is not a personality disorder. Say that again. It is not a personality keyword disorder. Introversion is not social anxiety. Just because someone is an introvert does not mean they have anxiety. Okay. It does not mean that it's now. For some people, it is, but for the most part, it is not anxiety. Just because someone is quiet in nature does not mean they are. I cannot stand. Y'all pray. Just because someone is quiet does not mean they are afraid of people. Just because someone is quiet does not mean they're shy. Now, shy and quiet are not the same thing. Quiet means you're quiet of your soul. I'm going to give you a scripture to back of everything I say. Shy is when someone's afraid. Okay, so they are afraid to speak to you. Quietness, they're not afraid to speak to you. They're just using wisdom. They may speak to you, but they may not necessarily open up all the wells. We may not be best. Listen, I'm just going to tell you right now. I don't care if I meet you for 5 minutes or 5 days. We are not besties the first week we meet. If you were in love with me, sir, if I just met you on Thursday and then you in love by Friday, you need to get away. Okay. So it's not a personality disorder. Okay. Now there are different types of personalities. So for those who don't know mental health, obviously my therapist who watches my podcast, you understand what I mean by personality disorder. A personality disorder is some type of mental health or something that is just a disorder, something wrong with you. Okay. And it is something so wrong with you that you have made the diagnostic statistical manual that we use to diagnose mental illnesses. Okay. So it's not a personality disorder. Okay. But the most common that we'll talk about today is introverts, obviously. But I want to contrast that between extroverts, and why we tend to actually do very well together. But there are different types of personalities. So you just want to Google types of personalities. You want to know all of them. The only ones I'm gonna hit is introverts mainly, and then I'm gonna do a little bit more about extroverts. Extroverts tend to be more interested in being open, and they're very talkative. While introverts tend to be, we are alone with our thoughts and we feelings, and we process information by thinking about it first. That's why an introvert thinks about it. It does not mean you're stuck in your head and you have all these, disorders in your head. It just means that you think and then you speak. Okay. Extroverts compare their own opinions next to other people, where that's an extrovert. Okay, they compare the opinions against the opinions of other people. And I want to tell you why I think that's a good thing. However, introverts tend to be reserved or quiet and thoughtful. Okay. And they, as a faith based person, we may compare our thoughts against the word of God. We may compare our thoughts against our experiences. We tend to use a little more wisdom, but we observe people first. We are people watchers. They observe you before they make a conclusion about you. Okay. That's why people say introverts are mysterious. We'll talk about that in a minute. Extroverts tend to be more active, and they have a lot of friends. So anyone says, these are my friends. You have a 50 million friends. You are not an introvert, you're an extrovert. I mean, you're not an extrovert. I mean, you're not an introvert, excuse me, you're an extrovert. Introverts do value friendships, believe it or not. They do value people, they value friendships, they value connections, but they're not necessarily like, we don't need tons of friends. We may have two, like for me, I don't have a lot of friends, but the friends I know, I've known for many, many, many years. The people that I connect with, that I know are my people, are people that I have known years and years and years and years and years. I don't meet you the first 5 minutes or a first month and we friends. I just, don't do that. But so introverts need more time, but they are good, valuable, meaningful friends. Okay. Quantity versus quality. Okay. So extroverts makes new friends easily and they adapt easily. Introverts tend to take their time, and there's nothing wrong with taking your time. Um, Extroverts are interested in new people. Introverts, we're not just interested in new people just because. I don't listen. I do not just want to just hang out with you because I'm supposed to do that. I don't really, you're boring. I just don't do that. Let me tell you why. Now tactic for me is like I value new connections, but it has to have some type of meaning or purpose. I don't like being in a room full of people and y'all just talking about absolutely nothing. I because I help people all the time. The connections that I want in my personal life, I need people that can pour back into me. I don't want people in my life that constantly I'm pouring out of until you pour out of an empty well. Okay, so introverts, we don't like you to just show up anywhere. Don't just, don't just show up, okay? Call first. And we may say we're busy because introverts get more energy from being alone and they process information alone. And then they connect with people who they find valuable and they treasure. Extroverts, you get gain energy from being around a whole bunch of people. Okay, that's why extroverts tend to be a little more judgmental towards introverted people, and we just sitting looking at you kind of crazy because why? Introverts work well alone, and we can work well with in group. For me, when introverts speak because they're not constantly trying to impress you, when they speak with wisdom. They observe. They speak with kindness. They say, "Hey, have you thought about this?" They're not just chatty catties. Okay, where extroverts, you just want to talk to everybody. Mm-hmm. Okay, so you're not an extrovert. Then I would tell you the one of the things I observed about extroverted people versus introverted people. Introverted people have a very, very, very high sense of discernment, particularly if you're a faith-based person. You sit and you have heard and you develop because introverts are studiers. If you're a faith-based person, they really spend a lot of time with God. They're highly prophetic people, and I'm getting ahead of myself. I'll talk about that in a minute. And so they have a very, very, very keen sense of discernment. I can tell you stories upon stories upon stories as an introverted person, how even as a child, my discernment was high. And so someone could walk into a room and and it's not pessimism, it's not jealousy, it's not what people, it's not being overly critical. You just can discern people. You can, if it's a room full of 100 people, you can discern the one who's operating under God's grace versus his versus someone who's motivated by demonic spirit, and they cannot say anything. You can just call a thing because your discernment is so high. However, extroverted people, because you have so many people in your ear, they tend to not have the same level of discernment as introverted people. Whether you want to believe it or not, it's absolutely true. So extroverted people, if you ever are extrovert and you ever find yourself in wrong relationships, people who are controlling, manipulative, who had an agenda against you, 9 times out of 10 is because you didn't operate in a level of discernment and you had too many people in your ear. But an introverted person probably was like, they can spot stuff like that a mile away because they have a high sense of some people call it being sensitive. I call it being discerning. If you're a Christian and you're discerning by the Holy Spirit. I'll give you an example. I tell this story many, many times. How I have had, like, obviously I'm a beautiful person. Now you are free to disagree, but I like me, and I think I'm drop dead gorgeous. I just think that about myself. That's not a flex. I just love me, and I'm confident. So when you're a woman such as myself, of course you meet guys that want to date you or want to call it. That's just normal everyday life, right? And so I've had times where when a guy's trying to date me and within a 30-minute conversation, the Holy Spirit is telling me, and I know his voice, not Samaria. Like I've told an example of this guy who was trying to date this years ago. And I've had other experiences, but this is one of those things I like to highlight because as an introvert, I was able to pick up on deception fairly quickly. And so I was just talking to the guy. The more he talked, the more my discernment kicked in. The more he talked, but he was trying to again impress me with words. And I'm not impressed by what he was saying because the more he talked, the more the Holy Spirit started speaking to me. Turns out the man was full of deception. He had issues with of submission to leadership. He was not active a member of a church. The Holy Spirit said to Samaria, don't talk to him, don't date him, don't befriend him because he's a vagabond spirit and he's going to be dead weight in your life. That's in basic conversations. But I hear the sensitivity of God's voice. But if you're an extrovert, you have difficulty sometimes because you got too many people in your ear and you can't quiet yourself long enough to hear what God is saying, and you lack discernment in certain areas. Okay, so that's one of the benefits of being an introvert, which is why we need introverted people and we need extroverted people. And extroverted people tend to try to dog out introverted people because they cannot read us. They don't understand because you've been around talkers who are trying to impress you, but an introverted person is not interested in impressing. They're interested in connecting with people who accept them for who they are. All right, and so let's keep moving. Okay, okay. Hold on here. I'm gonna keep time because I have a lot of information, and I made a two-parter, but I'm gonna try to make it one part. Okay, so let's talk about benefits, or let's talk about like what is the introvert and like some of the benefits. So introverts again gain insight, energy, creative ideas, and motivation after periods of being alone. Okay, so for an introvert, being around a bunch of people is just not necessarily the best case scenario. We can be around some people. There's a certain part of our brain that says, "Okay, you got to go home. You got to get away from these people." It's not because you're nervous, not because you don't like them. I just listen. There's a limit. Even me, like it's crazy how God calls me to things that are so outside of my personality. Like you see me talking now. If you ever see me speak in person, like I'm confident and I'm self assured. But if you see me in real life, I'm more quiet. But there's come a time I just cannot be around. I like listen. Sometimes I work 12-hour days. Sometimes I work 16-hour days because I do other stuff and include my own private practice. And so even as an introvert, I'm a therapist and I love talking. Not necessarily love talking to people. I love what I do for a living. But there are times when my brain just says, Samaria, after your last client, you got to check out. I don't want to talk to a bunch of people all the time. Okay. But introverts, they gain energy. By extroverts, they gain energy for being around a bunch of people. They're around a bunch of people. Now they're just excited. Introverts around a bunch of people who just like, oh my God, that was draining. Yeah, we can do it. Like obviously, when you're a writer, when you're speaking, when you're a therapist, when you're in the human services field, when you're about whatever it is that you're doing, you have to eventually talk to people. But after a while, it's just like, oh, that was draining. Well, extroverts like, oh, that was great. We got to do it again. And we're just like, wait a minute, wait. You're doing too much. Okay. So introverts tend to be quiet learners. And again, because they're quiet and because they observe and because we are so full of hidden treasures, we have so many experiences and because we produce results. When an introvert decides to speak up, they're not speaking to be heard. They're not speaking to impress you. They speak with wisdom. So they sit down, they observe, and they speak with kindness and they speak with wisdom. Okay, have you thought about it this way? Or maybe you should do it this way. Or that's fine. Like I was listening to someone speak, and they were like, it was revelation to them, and I was like, yeah, I talked about that 15 years ago. Like, you know what I'm saying? And it wasn't like a flex. It wasn't a flex. It's just that it was revelatory to them, and I was just like, whatever. Like I could do that. Like, and I wasn't trying to brag. But I was like, that ain't deep. Come on now. Come on now. But again, as an introvert, I have so much a vast amount of experiences because I study. All right. So introverts don't need to be heard first. They listen and then they speak based upon gathering accurate information. Okay. Introverts think first, then they act. They don't act first, then they think. They are not obnoxious and they are not impulsive. Okay, we're going to talk about common misconceptions about introverts. Okay, the Bible endorses introverted people. If you really look at any pillar of the Bible, and I mean any, Abraham, Daniel, Moses, Joseph, majority of all the prophets, Jesus, God spoke to them in their alone time first. He spoke to them how? In their alone time first is the operative word here. Because introverts actually make really, really good leaders. But by the time God has finished developing them and preparing them for the positions that God has called them to, they have a sense of who they are because God spoke to them in their alone time first. Now, as a caveat, you're not so anointed that you can't attend a church. You're not so anointed that you can't. You see what I'm saying? That's a whole nother level here. When the Bible's not anointed you so much, you cannot forsake the assemblies together of the saints. You understand what I'm saying? So there are people who kind of go to the extreme with that. But when God gets ready to call you, remember He speaks you to your alone time. Look at Joseph. Look at Daniel. There's so many. Look at Moses. Moses was on. Listen. Look at Moses. Moses was on that burning bush by himself in the burning bush. You understand what I'm saying? So God creates an atmosphere for us to hear His voice. And oftentimes we speak to him and it's a long time and then it's confirmed in front of people. Okay, look at David. David was on the outside when the prophet came. He was not called in. He was outside tending sheep. His father had to, the prophet had to say, listen, God hasn't selected any of these. Is there somebody else? Why? Because the introvert was on the outside tending sheep. He was outside working. Okay. So introverts tend to be highly prophetic people. They tend to be highly discerning. And extroverts tend to be not as discerning. So if you know that you're an extroverted person and you have difficulty quieting, so I think if you all over the place, like if you just can't be alone with yourself and you got to be here, there, and everywhere, and you just have a hard time. Something's wrong there. Now you don't have to be as extreme as introverts, but something is wrong there. So introverts tend to be highly discerning people, while extroverts, it does not mean they're not discerning, but they're not as discerning as introverted people. They're introverted people, their discernment tends to be high. Now I said something, I'm gonna give you a whole bunch of scripture, but I'm gonna read it anyway. Let's talk about how the Bible endorses introverts. Okay, and again, this is not a quite against extroverted people, but I want to encourage my introverted people because I want you to be successful, and I don't want you to listen to people who don't understand you about and start telling you who you should be, who you shouldn't be. Walk in your confidence as a introverted, quiet natured person who can produce results. Okay, so Isaiah 30:15 says, "In quiet confidence is your strength." So strength is not in being aggressive, or strength is not always being in the one that's always seen, or it's not always being the one that's always talking. Quiet confidence is actually strength, according to what the word of God says. So quiet confidence means, according to Advisorypedia, I think it's called. Okay, quiet confidence means this: you believe 100% to the point where you know that success is your only option. You do not talk about what you're going to do. You let your actions and your results speak for itself. See, when you are an introverted person, you will eventually, if you are motivated, you will eventually produce results. What you have produced is what is going to tell you who you are. You don't have to keep saying, well, I'm Samaria and look what I've accomplished. I'm Samaria and look, you don't have to, try to, your results and what you have produced speaks to who you actually are. And let's be clear, because if you're an introvert and you know your purpose, you know your assignment, and you are driven by that, you are clear to follow what God tells you to do, not necessarily what people tell you to do, because people have you going every which way with what God says. You're not waiting to pursue people for your success. Okay. And you just produce. Okay. And you produce results. You can go to my website at www.drsamariacover.com. You can see some of the results I have produced. Okay. You are not easily deceived. You have high moral standards and you are motivated to succeed. Okay. So introverts value meaningful relationships. Okay. So for me, I don't need 20 people to show up for me. I'd rather have one person or two people that I can have meaningful conversations that I go away, you feeling fulfilled and I feeling fulfilled, instead of a bunch of 20. And you said, now don't get me wrong, if 20 people and all 20 of them people are people of substance and they're people of value, that's one thing. But it doesn't, you don't necessarily need 11 million friends. If you do, that's fine, but you're not an introvert. Okay. You're just not. But so don't make people make you think, because introverts don't have a lot of friends. Okay, we just don't. Now again, quantity versus quality. I told you at the beginning, like the people that I know rock for me, that at least even a little bit, like I've known them for years. You understand what I'm saying? So anyway, so I'm going to give you again some little more scriptures about introverts that it's gonna bless your life. Okay. All right, let's talk about First Thessalonians 4:11-12. This New Living Translation, and it reads, y'all gonna love this one. I love this one too. It says, make it your goal to live a quiet life. What kind of life? A quiet life. Ain't that something? Minding your own business and working with your hands just as we have instructed you before. So that describes an introvert right there. You live a quiet life, you minding your own business, and you working with your hands as you were instructed. Because introverts do follow instructions, okay? Then people who are not believers will respect the way you live, and you will not need to depend upon others. Now that describes an introvert right there. Now, someone said, "Is that real?" Yes. Let's go on ahead here. Okay. And that's the word now. Don't be. That's the word. Okay. Okay. That's the word. Ain't that the word? All right. That's the word. Okay. James 1:19, it says listening and doing. Y'all know this is emphasis. I love this one from the KJV, but I'm gonna read it from New LT, New Living Translation. And understand this, my brothers and sisters. You must be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to get angry. Keep your words few. Guess what that means? He described an introvert. An introvert is someone who's quiet, quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to get angry. Because if you listen first, then you respond. And you're not angry when you do it. That's it. Okay, now Proverbs 15:1. I mean, we got scripture. Ain't that the word? That's the word. Ain't that the word? That's the word. Oh, this is fun for me. Proverbs 15:1. And it reads, a gentle answer deflects anger, but harsh words makes tempers flare. Introverts are very respectable people. And I've taught my clients all the time there's a difference between being aggressive, assertive, and passive. A passive, you don't say anything to anybody. They just run all over you in the name of Jesus. You don't have to be a Christian doormat, okay? Don't assume what introvert is. Because let me tell you what I is as an introvert. People think they can get you, got you, because you're quiet. And then as soon as they try it, you check them in nice, nasty way. You would listen, first of all, we're not going to hit past today. You do not speak to me that way. That's on period. You can speak up for yourself in a way that's stern. So passive people, they don't say anything. Assertive people, they speak up for themselves and for other people, believe it or not, in a way that's respectful but stern. This is non-negotiable. Aggressive people, all this attitude and stuff like that. That's a very insecure person. But introverts in general tend to use their words with wisdom. So they do tend to do, even if they have to confront you about something, they can do it in an adult-like manner, but they can be assertive, stern, but will convey the love of Christ at the same time. Okay. So, a gentle answer deflects wrath, but harsh words makes tempers flare. And I want to read this from the KJ, the new KJV. It says, a soft answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. The tongue of the wise uses knowledge rightfully, but the mouth of fools pours forth foolishness. Someone that cannot control their tongue, they cannot control how they approach or speak or treat people, is a fool. Okay, and this is in general terms. I'm not saying extroverts are the same, are not. In general terms, when you're dealing with a mature introverted person, they tend to be mature and use wisdom in how they use their words. They can speak up, they can be assertive, they can, but again, they use their words with kindness and assertiveness at the same time. They are not foolish. They're not trying to demean you, disrespect you, or dishonor you. So I want to tell you how to deal with an introvert in another. Just keep going with me. Keep rocking with me. We got some time. All right. So we're going to talk about why having an introvert on your team is like crucial. Crucial. One, they're highly dependable. They're self-motivated. They don't need to be micromanaged. Now, generally, like for me as an introvert, if I'm in a new situation, I'm going to ask questions if I'm like new, but give me a little bit of time. Once I know it, and I would say a little bit of time, I mean 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks flat at max, just depending. But once I get it, I got it. They don't need to be micromanaged. They do. You can call an introverted person shows up. Okay, you gotta keep that. When you gonna show up for work? Or how you gonna? If you are dealing with an introverted person, they're highly dependable. You can depend upon what they say. They say what they mean, and they mean what they say. If they say we're gonna meet at 5 o'clock, an introverted person is showing up 10:50. I mean, I'm sorry, not 10:50. Excuse me, at 4:50. They showed up 10 minutes early. I'm the type of person that if I'm on your team, like I'll show up before anyone else shows up, and I'm leaving after everyone else leaves. Okay, it causes a problem, but I'm still there. To be that dependable, because sometimes you're so dependable and you hit your mark and you're so responsible, but sometimes people just, unfortunately, the negative side of being a highly motivated and dependable person is that people just tend to just kind of not do their part, or they tend to flack off because they know the highly motivated person is going to show up and show out. But they communicate when necessary. They're very intelligent. So you're not going to have a chatty catty with the introvert. They don't constantly, excuse me, they don't constantly, hold on. There we go. Sorry, y'all. They don't constantly need to be in your face. What do you want? What do you want? What do you want? What? Once you give an introvert instructions and they got it, they got it. They don't constantly need validation. I'm not saying they don't need validation or that people, but they're not like, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? They don't constantly need that I don't know, that constant, when someone's insecure and they constantly need validation. An introvert doesn't really need that. They appreciate validation, but it's not like a need. You got to constantly be for them to show up. They also do not monopolize your time. An introverted person, you have to call them. I'm gonna tell you how to deal with an introvert, but introverted people, listen. You see, I just turned my phone over. You could be texting an introverted person. They just like, oh, I can't get not today. An introverted person not gonna call you 15 times straight, they just not. You have to call them, and they may answer. Okay, may is the operative word. They're very intelligent. They study their craft first, and then they do. This is why introverts tend to spend a lot of time alone. They're not just sitting at home twiddling their fingers trying to figure what they're gonna do next. Introvert is highly motivated and they have a goal in mind and they're studying their craft before they release it. Okay. They are genuine people. If an introvert like you, they like you. If they don't, they don't. Then they'll still be cordial to you. Hey, how you doing? God bless you. All right. But that's about it. You're not getting no further than that. If an introvert person don't fool with you, they don't fool with you. But remember that they are, it's not that they're afraid, they are highly sensitive, a very, very discerning person. So they just, some people, they just like, no. They tend not to misuse people. They can be trusted with your secrets. They have a plan. They set healthy boundaries. Sometimes now our proclivity is a little extreme, but we do set healthy boundaries. But some of y'all just don't set healthy boundaries. And that's why you're in certain situations. Okay. You don't set healthy boundaries. Okay. They're excellent listeners. They're empathetic. They build meaningful relationships. That's the key. They build meaningful relationships. Okay, not surface level of relationships. We don't tend to hang around people long term that just only are there with their hand out. You know what I mean? Like, once you grow and you evolve and you get past all that, I don't. You're gonna need me before I need you. I mean, that sounds mean, but it's the true facts. You are going to need me before I need you. And that's real, because an introverted person is highly motivated. They get it done. No excuses. Either I'm going to win or I'm going to win. No excuses. So if you don't show up, I'm going to show up, but I'm going to show out. And I'm going to show up, do more work than all of y'all. That's what an introvert does. They're not waiting for somebody to tap them on them shoulders, give you a prophetic word, and say, go forth and start that business. Bruh, I started that business 15 years ago. We don't wait for people. We just do. That's what introverts do. They just do. We ain't wait for nobody's co-sign on us. We just do it. And that's why they're highly successful. I want to tell you, remember, y'all hold on to the end. Like I said, I'm gonna show you better than I can tell you. All right. They're creators. So songwriters, writers, introverts, those songwriters, right? They can be extroverted people, but people that tend to create, a lot of times they spend a lot of time alone or with other creators, because that's how they create meaningful work. So if you look at really, really good songwriters, They give you songs that have good lyrics and depth and talk about pains and purposes and loves and all those things like that. They tend to be more introverted people. Okay. They're excellent teachers. It's not true that an introvert cannot get up and speak. Remember, introverts spend a lot of time in study. They study their craft, they study their field, because it is a little more uncomfortable for them to get up and speak in front of people. Does not mean they cannot do it. They spend a lot more time studying than the average person who just is clout chasing and just wants a platform. They spend a lot of time studying. As a matter of fact, they overstudy it. Me, I over deliver every time. That's why I write books. I over deliver. That's how much I study. Okay. They are not title driven. An introvert does not need to be seen to be effective. They don't need you to point them out. They don't need you to give them a title or give them a seat or give them, we don't need all that. And sometimes, again, my introverts, we tend to run from that, but they produce results. And so when you got an introvert on your team, you got someone that's integrity, that you got someone that's there for the right reasons. Again, all this is, you meet people and everyone doesn't fit into the category. But for the most part, when you're dealing with an introvert, that's who they are. They're honorable. They have godly character. They have introverted people who are Christians are highly, highly sensitive to the Holy Spirit. They know when Holy Spirit is there versus someone hooping and hollering and fluffing and hooping. Introverts have self-control. They're led by God. They're not aggressive. They're not demeaning. They're not rude, and they're highly respectable. Okay, I can sit in full of rooms full of people, other PhDs, JDs, whatever D's there are out there. Okay, and not be intimidated because I belong with the seat at the table, but I'm not necessarily going to one up you. Introvert does not feel the need to compete with you because they are firm in who they are. Okay. They tend to spend time in the word. They don't seek validation from outside people. Does not mean we don't need it. Does not necessarily mean we don't have relations. We don't care to. If God tell me to do something, Flex, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And I don't call and go in rooms for people and see who I need to connect with to do it. No, I'm going to do it. In the process of doing, which is what I taught a teaching long time, a couple years ago, I talked about like business etiquette and how you have to start from somewhere. So what happens when you're trying to run a business, you're trying to get yourself started, you are running your race. Okay. And then as you run your race, you'll meet people along the way who can help you take you to the next level or give you another piece to the puzzle. But introverts don't sit there and wait for somebody to come and tap them on their shoulders. We just don't. And guess what? We produce results. And guess what? You produce more results than most people. All right. We don't seek validation. Remember, a female who is an introvert gives you femininity. Okay. Now, it is not true that a man who is an introvert is a punk or a Ishmael. Okay. That's not necessarily true. You could be a man and you're an introvert and you're walking your authority as a masculine man, but you're still very discerning. But when you're dealing with, I'm not talking to from my perspective, because remember, obviously, I'm a female. I'm a woman. I have ovaries. Okay. But woman give a female who's an introvert gives you female or femininity. Okay, an introvert. Okay, I'm gonna get ahead of myself. I'm gonna tell you how to deal with the introvert. But we give you feminine energy. All right, that's what an introvert does. A female introvert. All right, a woman. Power 31 woman. Okay, we're not giving you masculine energy. We're giving you female energy, feminine energy. Excuse me. Let's talk about misconceptions about introverts. Number one thing is remember this: if people can't figure you out, they will make something up. And 9 times out of 10, if you're an introvert, they cannot figure you out. So they will come up with something in their mind, don't make no type of sense, don't even remotely reflect you. So example would be, you're a quiet person, you get in from you speak, hello, how are you? But again, for me, if I get into a I'm gonna speak to you, but I'm not necessarily carrying on a long conversation unless it's really like something deep. But I'm not necessarily like, hey, I'm Samaria, and we're just not best friends. I'm just gonna tell you now, okay? We're just not, and I'm not changing. So anyway, but the reason why introverts can't figure you out because they don't know you. We're not chatty catties, okay? And so people they'll just make stuff up. So that she walks in, she thinks she's better than us. No, we don't. No, we don't. You just made that up. So again, when just a woman in general or people in general, they don't see other people as their competition. But oftentimes, when people cannot figure you out, again, they just make random stuff up that you're like, I didn't even say that. Okay. It's not true that people don't. There's misconceptions here. It's not true that people don't that introverts don't like people. Okay, it's not true that people they don't like relationships with people. Again, they desire meaningful conversation. They would rather have a conversation with one or two people that's meaningful, that gives you creative ideas, that's authentic, that's real, versus being in a room full of 50 people. Okay. It is not true that introverts are snobby or they're actually very, very kind-hearted people. Sometimes if you're introvert such as myself, you got in trouble being too kind-hearted to people. I mean, that's just true too. But they're not snobby or bougie or stuck up, which is what a lot of people think about introverts. They're not overly subservient or submissive. Okay. Which is really a sign of insecurity. It's not necessarily a sign of introversion. Okay. An introvert can speak up for themselves just fine if they're healed in the time is necessary for that time. Okay, but a sign of insecurity is someone who is extremely subservient or submissive, and they have some type of codependency. They can struggle with interaction. That is true with large groups of people. Does not mean we can't do it. It just that means it just feels uncomfortable initially, and after a while, it's like, listen, I got to go. I just it's too much for me. I gotta get out of here. Remember, quiet versus shy. A quiet person is just a quiet natured person. It doesn't necessarily mean they can't connect with people. It does not necessarily mean they can't talk with people. It does not mean they're sitting somewhere crying and boohooing. We sitting somewhere working. Okay, we're writing books. We're writing plays. We're writing music. We're building businesses. We're getting contracts. We are interacting with people who are in the line of our field of practice. Okay, so if you're an introvert, you're a therapist. You probably know a whole bunch of other therapists. If you're an introvert but you're a musician, you probably know a whole bunch of other musicians. We're very clear about our target, who, and we tend to hang around people who have the same interests as us. We just don't, it's one of those things. Okay, and sometimes people assume that they don't like you. Well, I'll say that in a minute. Some people don't like you. Now, introverts don't necessarily care for everybody. Okay, there's certain type personality types I have never gotten along with because they always try it. Now, introverts they can work well with anybody. But let me give you an example for me. Like, I'm cool with anybody. I'm cool with you. Like, I may not necessarily be best friend with you, but I'm cool with you. I don't have no problem with you. The people that, if I look like over my life, there are certain personality types I just couldn't rock with. It's the people that were very manipulative, controlling, overly aggressive. Because remember, when you're a natural quiet nature person, you discern people, but these have personality types are looking for people to prey upon, prey upon, and they're looking for someone to control. And so you just naturally see a quiet natured person, and that's kind hearted, and they naturally think, oh, I can control in their subconscious mind. Oh, I need to hook up with that person. And so I've never been able to get along well with these type of people because I don't put up with that. We not having temper tantrums. You grown and you disrespectful, and you popping off at the mouth and you controlling. You know, Introverted people, you don't last very long in their life if you're like that. Now, when you're young, as anybody, you tend to put up with things that you probably should. Like when you're 20s, teens, you tend to put up with things that you probably shouldn't have because you think that you should. Once you grow and you mature, there's a certain personality type you just don't. Like if you loud, you're abrasive, you're aggressive. You know what I'm saying? If I got to, if I got to check you, I ain't gonna do it but one time, and then I'm walking away, and I don't even know who you are. Like, what is your name? Like that type of stuff. You understand what I'm saying? Y'all get it. There's a difference between having walls up and very guarded. Now, introverted people are guarded, but the scripture does says, guard your heart for out of flows the issues of life. Walls up, no one good, bad, or in between gets in. A guarded person says there are certain levels and boundaries to me, and how far you get close to me is based upon my own comfortability. So when I talk to you about how you interact with the introvert, it's gonna make sense. Okay, so they do tend to be guarded, but not necessarily with walls. It's more like, who are you? I need to discern you. I just want to know what role you're going to play in my life. You can't just push your way into an introvert's life and be and they be okay with it. Introverts are not intimidating. They are intimidating to the wrong person. Because again, people can't figure you out. They can't read you. So they think you're mysterious. And they see you, but they don't see you. They see you, but they pretend like they don't see you. Because they assume that you don't like them. They don't like you, and you don't like them, or whatever, what have you. You're very mysterious, and you can't be read easily. You don't walk around with all your business on your shoulder. You understand? And again, you're highly discerning. Okay, so just give me a few more minutes, okay? We're gonna rock with it. How should you approach an introverted person? How should you approach an introverted person? One, let's talk about relationships. If you are a man and you see a woman and you discern that she is introverted, an introverted woman is not going to pursue you. I don't believe in women pursuing men anyway. I believe that a woman could posture or position herself to be pursued, but women in general should not pursue men. Now, if you want to know more context of that, I'm not going to talk about that ever in this particular teaching. But one of my favorite YouTubers is Bishop R.C. Blake's. He has a YouTube. He has like 600,000 subscribers. It's really good. But he talked about that last week, so that's why I had yesterday even. So that's why I added to it. But he talks about how women should not pursue men. However, an introverted person on top of that is just not interested in pursuing you. Okay. Now, for me, I'm beautiful. I'm kind. I'm beautiful. If I can go anywhere and be minding my business. I'm at the grocery store, the gas station, the department store, the mall, walking around my neighborhood, and some dude is going to pull up on me. I can either say yes or I can say no. But an introverted person is not going to go outside of their character to pursue a relationship with a man. Now, a controlling, manipulative, or insecure person will do that. They will give you masculine energy. But if you're a man and you say, hey, I need a woman that's gonna give you that's gonna give me feminine energy. You want a Proverbs 31 woman, then what you need to do is not find yourself uh um entertaining women who give you masculine energy. And an introverted woman is probably the farthest thing, no matter how much she's accomplished, uh, is gonna give you the furthest thing from masculine energy. Okay, okay. You want to ask open-ended questions. And again, this is just in general terms when you interact with people. If you let me give you an example. If you say, "Hey, did you have a good day?" That's a closed-ended question. It's either gonna be yes or it's either gonna be no. Now, introverted person basically say no. No type of explanation because the language is short. Okay, yes, but it would be better if you ask open-ended questions. Like instead of did you have a good day? That's a yes and that's closed-ended. But if you say, hey, how was your day? That's an open-ended question. Okay. Um, if you say, what do you like? Do you like, I don't know, do you like breakfast food or do you like, I don't know, do you like art? I don't know. That's either a yes or no. That's a closed-ended question. But remember, the point is to get an introvert to talk. So instead of saying that, instead of saying, do you like, I don't know, this music? Yes or no. And again, introverted person, because we don't like to no. And someone that's mature, they may be like, no, because, but it's you hit or miss it, okay? So open-ended questions. What are you passionate about? That is an open-ended question, okay? Other thing is be patient, be kind, and be patient, because when you're dealing with an introverted person, right, it takes them a little bit it takes us a little bit longer to open up to people. It doesn't mean we don't trust you, it just takes us long to feel comfortable, because we just don't talk easily. Okay. So be patient and be open. If an introverted person calls you, if an introverted person likes you, they like you. Like, I'm introverted. If you call me and you keep calling me and I don't pick up, I don't like you. However, I don't want to talk to you. Leave me alone. However, I'm just telling you, I don't even think that's right. I'm just telling you the truth. I be like, However, if an introvert, if you call an introverted person, right, anything don't answer you right away, because we do have lives. I mean, we do work. I mean, just like the rest of us, right? So if you talk to an introverted person, right, and they text you back, or you like their post, they like your post back. You understand what I'm saying? Or they don't, or you show interest, and at least they give you something to work with. They more likely like you, okay? But so be patient. Listen, introverts, they need to be heard. Don't interrupt. So if someone introvert person probably opens up to you, it don't have to be about anything. It could be like, this is what I'm passionate about. This is what I love. This is what I've experienced. They are giving you a treasure because in an introvert is so much hidden treasure. They know how to do so many things. They're highly successful people. And so if they open up and they start telling you, I can do this, and I can do this, and this is what I've done in the past, 9 times out of 10, if God is connecting you with the introverted person, they have everything that you need and then some. Like, because they are highly successful people and they study lots and lots and lots of times. Okay. So when the introvert is talking, listen, because they do need to be heard. If you're like me, like I've always been around like extroverted people, even though I'm an introvert. And so sometimes when I say something, I don't like being interrupted. Oh yes. Oh no. Oh, yeah, no. Or there's nothing someone's done has done to me. Like I'm talking, I'm opening up. Maybe I'm being vulnerable because introverts people, to honestly, are not truly, honestly, openly vulnerable initially. Okay, they have to trust you. They have to feel mostly safe with you. Okay. But if if I'm talking to you and I'm saying maybe this is what I've gone through, this is what I'm passionate about, don't make it about you, because that's what introverts have experienced, because they are good listeners. And so they've experienced listening to other people about their problems, but not having other people, or their joys or their pains or whatever, and not having that same reciprocity. So when you're dealing with an introverted person, just listen and don't make it about you. Don't stop and at the minute that they decide to talk. And it's, oh yeah, me too. I was going through this. Let me tell you what happened to me. And a lot of times you just go on and on. We just sitting there like, we may not look like that, but our mind was thinking, well, dang, what about me? Be trustworthy, because let me tell you what an introvert does. They don't believe. So be trustworthy. This is what I've heard a YouTuber say, and I truly believe it. I have no reason to believe what you say. I have every reason to believe your actions. And introverted people don't necessarily discern what you say, because they observe people and they can see people lying, people deceiving, people just being all kinds of fruity. But they are looking at your actions and again what you have produced, because we have produced. And so we want to be around people who have produced. Okay. So be trustworthy. Don't ever, 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 ever tell an introverted person you are too quiet. Why are you so quiet? I had somebody tell me that, right? And I'm not trying to flex. Now I remember thinking like, but what's wrong with me? It's working for me. Clearly, I mean, and I'm not bragging. I have a career that I love. I've written close to 60 books. I've written training courses. Like, I'm producing. It's clearly working for me. Why are you saying I'm too quiet? Because what it is that what you're telling an introverted person is who you are, and your personality is not enough. I'm too quiet for you, but I'm just fine for me. And again, the person that said that to me has not been producing results. So you got opinions about people, and I'm not talking to the person. You got opinions about people, who they should be, who they shouldn't be, but your resume does not justify your opinion. But you're talking to someone who has a history of producing. Okay. So don't ever say to a introverted person, you are too quiet, because you're in essence, we interpret that to mean I am not enough. My personality is not enough for you. And I'm me, I'm not going to change who I am or go outside of my character to appease you. You either like me or you don't. If you don't like me, I don't care. If you do like me, that's wonderful. But I like me. Okay. So convey that you care. Don't try to hype yourself up or be yourself. Introverts can tell when you lying. We can. And again, let me tell you what happened. Again, that happened to me. You know what I'm saying? Because what I'm saying, I think I'm kind of popping. You ain't got to believe it. I think I'm popping. Like I had people that once they friend me or they get to know me, right? I'm cool. You ain't got to put on no airs for me. Just be yourself, because I'm gonna be myself. But as soon as, oh, she got a business, oh, she right, oh, she doing this. And now all of a sudden you the world renowned whatever, and you lying. And I'm just like, come on, bro, come on, come on, just be yourself, just be yourself. I'm not. You ain't gotta press me. I don't care. Like, I don't care, and people do all kinds of stuff, disclosing stuff. And listen, I don't care. Like, you don't have to impress me. Be yourself. What's most authentic and real about an introverted person, they want to be around people who are comfortable with themselves. Even if we have a completely different personality type, just be yourself. Don't start bragging about what you do and this and that, because we're not sitting there going, oh my God, that's great. We're like, okay. So don't assume. Don't assume that an introvert doesn't like you. Don't assume that an introvert person cannot produce. Observe them. They produce. They produce results. Okay. So if you're a man, you need to take the initiative. Now, again, if you're an introverted man, listen, y'all have a little bit harder. Okay. Because the introverted woman's going to give you feminine energy, but you can't be a man giving us feminine energy. Like, you're a man, you can be quiet, but you can be quiet and assertive. Okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Quiet and bold. Remember, in quiet confidence is what the word of God says. So if you are an introverted man and you come across as afraid, we just really don't want you. Okay. So that's real. Let me tell you, you have to know everyone's boundaries is going to be different. For me as an introvert, I really don't like whole conversation over text messages. Believe it or not, even you think people introvert don't like to talk. We do like to talk. I don't like. You can text me, "Hey, how you doing?" You can text me directions to the event we're going to. You can direct me directions to where we're gonna meet up at. Like, you can text me like an appointment time. You can text me that, but whole conversation via text message. It's an absolute no for me. You can text, say, "Hey, what time are you free?" and we talk over the phone. But I cannot stand, but again, that's me personally. But I can't stand whole conversations over text message. It's just weird. Okay, respect boundaries, and state your boundaries. And so if you're introvert, you have to state your boundaries. Okay, like I just told you my boundary. Like, and I'll tell people that straight up. Like, yo, listen, I'm telling you now. Like, I don't like conversations via text message. Another thing about me, a boundary that I have is that I am really, really, really busy. I'm actually filming this in between clients because I have just a little bit of space of time. But for the most part, like, I'm not Johnny on the spot. And so you can't assume, because I don't, if you text me, I don't text you back, or if you call me, I don't pick up right away. Don't assume anything. But I try to tell people that I've learned, because people get offended. Like, if you don't call them right away, you're not Johnny on the spot. I've learned to tell them, hey, listen, I'm in session like most of the day. Sometimes I'm in session till 8 o'clock at night. Like, so I may not call you back. Are you okay with getting a call back late at night? I don't really take phone calls first thing in the morning, 6 and 7 o'clock in the morning, because I first off, I just need my time with God first. And I just don't want to jump up and start talking to people. I just don't. But I tell people that, like, listen, I'm really busy. I have a business, and I'm not flexing like I'm bragging, like I got a business, and oh my God, like, I'm not doing that. But I'm telling you in advance, like, if you text me, I may not text you back. Tell me a good time for us to meet up or to talk. It's okay. I'm not Johnny on the spot. If you call me multiple times, I don't really want to rock with you, because it's just really getting under my skin. Okay. And I'm just, it's true. It's the truth though. It's the truth. All right. Um, don't insult, make fun of, or make underlying or underhanded comments or remarks or shady remarks, because an introverted person sees all that. Okay. Don't give people pet names that you're not familiar with. If you're not my man, my mama, or my mother figure, don't call me sweetie, Pookie. Oh, you little sweet thing. I am Dr. Samaria Cooper. You can address me by Dr. Samaria, or even Samaria. I don't even address myself as Dr. Samaria. On my voicemails, I do, but when I meet with my clients, even other professionals, I just introduce myself as Samaria. I'm cool with it. Some professionals are not. But as a 40-something-year-old woman, I remember I had this young girl. She was like 23, talking about, okay, sweetie, this is the thing in North Carolina. Okay, sweetie. No, sis, my name is Dr. Samaria Cooper. Or you can call me Samaria. That's cool with that. But don't be addressing me like, oh, you little sweet, cute, beauty. Look at you, sweet thing. That's a cultural thing in North Carolina. I don't understand it. How you addressing a grown person as sweetie? Like I said, but because when you're in a relationship with somebody, y'all give each other like pet names like bae or sweetheart or something like that. That's different if that's your man. But you ain't my man, and you're not my mama or my godmama or somebody like that, or a mother figure, somebody that I know personally like that. Don't address me by sweetie, cutie. Oh, you look at you so cute. Look at you so sweet. No, girl, I'm a grown woman. I'm a grown woman. Got grown bills. Dress me as such. Okay, don't do that. Okay. All right. We way past that time. We're gonna keep going because I don't want to part two this. Okay. So advice to introverts. This is I'm gonna give you advice to introverts. Okay. My fellow introverts, brothers and sisters. One, you have to know that you are enough. You don't have to change for anybody. You are enough, because I'm pretty sure if you live long, you've gotten that, oh, you're so quiet, or why are you so quiet, or oh, or they made you feel like if you don't want to walk in a room full of people and get to know everybody, that something's wrong with you. No, my personality type likes means that I deal with that. I can speak in front of a bunch of people, okay, but as far as connecting with people, that's not my personality type, and I'm okay with it. And if someone wants to make you feel differently, remember, they have a right to their opinion, but you are enough, and how you approach things and how you show up is enough. Okay. Be open, though, still be open, but also know that you are enough. God will connect you with the right people at the right time. Okay. You don't, so introverts don't manipulate themselves into people's positions with people, and they don't necessarily feel that their successes is dependent upon people. As a matter of fact, the young lady I was listening to on YouTube, she has like 100,000 subscribers on YouTube talking about herself as an introvert. So again, she's producing results as an introverted person. All she did was share her testimony. God will connect you. You don't have to dumb yourself down to make people feel comfortable. Most of the time, if you've been obviously been an introvert your life, but introverts, because they're highly motivated people, you get to the point where your success is set, and you have studied and developed and been and doing what you do for so long, that sometimes people make assumptions about you, or they don't understand, or it gets weird. But you don't have to dumb yourself down to make someone else feel comfortable. Sometimes your intellect is there, you understand, and so you don't have to dumb yourself down. Okay, you don't have to slow up just to say you have relations for other people to show up. God will send you people who have capacity for you. All right. And don't think that you're less than because someone else think that you're to something. All right. Keep pushing, keep pursuing your passion, your purpose, and your vision, the vision that God has for you, which is what introverts tend to be doing. Okay, now I love the scripture in First Peter. We're almost done, y'all. This has been a long one, but hang with me. Like I said, I did one part two, like I really thought I was going to do. First Peter 3, chapter 3, verse 4, New King James Version, and it reads such as this: rather let it be the hidden person of the heart, with the incorruptible beauty of a gentle and quiet spirit. A gentle and quiet spirit, which is very precious in the sight of God. If you're introvert, it's not gender specific. It was not talking about a woman in First Peter 3 and 4. It was not a male versus a female. But when you have a gentle and quiet spirit, you are precious in the sight of God. So all my fellow introverts, we are precious in the sight of God. Okay. So incorruptible means this. It means not susceptible to corruption, deceit, decay, death, bribery, or immorality. So when you are an introverted person, because you have discernment, because you know how to be alone with yourself and alone with God, because you are self-aware, you then become incorruptible. Okay. And you are valued to others. Okay, last few things. That's how a famous introverts, then we're gonna be done for today. Famous introverts, and I told y'all about all the prophets. Okay, told y'all about Daniel, told you about Joseph. Did I tell you about Joseph? Well, Joseph was one. Abraham, you name it. You name it, okay? There are more examples of introverts in the Bible than there were extroverts, believe it or not. Okay. So Jesus was one of them. And again, famous ones that y'all may know of that are introverted, highly successful people. Are y'all ready for this? Are y'all ready for this? This is going to demystify that idea that if you're quiet, you can't be successful. Or if you're an introvert, you just antisocial and you can't be successful. Are y'all ready for these ones? Are y'all ready? Okay, that's fine. Okay. Jesus, Elon Musk, Albert Einstein, Bill Gates, Rosa Parks, Eleanor Roosevelt, Sir Isaac Newton, Mark Zuckerberg, Abraham Lincoln, J.K. Rowling, Mahatma Gandhi, who Dr. Martin Luther King was inspired by a lot of his work. Michael Jordan, Dr. Seuss, Warren Buffett, Steven Spielberg, Steve Wozniak, who was, I may have pronounced his name wrong, Steve Wozniak, who was the co-founder of Apple, Eric Clapton, R&B singer Summer Walker. All of these people are tremendously successful, and all of them were introverts. And I can keep going on and on. Samaria Colbert, Dr. Samaria. Okay, so it is not true that if you are an introvert and you don't have a lot of friends, and then you can't be successful. It is not true. It's not true. You don't need thousands of people. You need one. And God, you and God are that one, are that majority. And then God will send you like-minded people. Man, that's not have the exact same personality, but God sends you like-minded people. Okay, so it's not true that it's your introvert and you don't have tons of friends that you cannot be successful. It is not true. The most successful people in the world were introverts. Okay, and sometimes introverts really need extroverted people because extroverted people, y'all need help, and so we introverts can help you, and vice versa. Okay, we balance each other out. Okay, but my word to extroverted people is that you miss the treasure when you're judging and putting introverted people down and seeing that they are to something because you can't figure them out. You need an introverted on your team. You need someone that can produce results. You need someone that's dedicated. You need someone that's full of wisdom. But if you sneezing on and putting down introverted people, we're not showing up because we don't show up for disrespect. We don't show up for people making us feel or trying to make us feel like we're less than because we don't fit your mold. You need people like us in your life. All right. I am Dr. Samaria M. Colbert. You can check me out www.drsamariacolbert.com. You can also check out my website at my counseling website. You must be a North Carolina resident at www.kingdomcreativecounseling.com. Or if you want to check out my training websites at www.trainingchristianleaders.com. And like I said, I'm Dr. Samaria, and I'm an introvert that produces results. Bye. We're going to talk about how to deal with persecution. We're going to also talk about another topic that won't come to my mind, but make sure you like, comment, and subscribe because we're going to keep going. Bye.